What's up, everybody? We're going to be doing a timing belt service today on a Suzuki Every van. It's a little different than the trucks. Engine placement, engine actually rotation is different than the trucks. So yeah, figured I'd do one on the van, and if you guys need to do a timing belt service, this should help you out. So this is an F6A engine. Doesn't matter on the model of the van, as long as it's an F6A carbureted, fuel injected, it's going to have pretty much the same stuff. So yeah, let's get to it. So obviously start by taking off your wheel. You want to take the cover off so you have access to the engine. There's all my parts. We got water pump, Suzuki timing belt, tensioner, and both the seals. I do have these on my website as well. ASIN is the best water pumps you can get, minus OEM. Seals are inside here. So we got Suzuki cam and crank seals, Suzuki belt, all OEM parts, so should be good. We're not running that JZK junk. That's a little sus. So yeah, these engines are rotated differently than the trucks, and they're in the back. So it's a little tricky. You can see the cam. Yeah, cam's up there. So that one's going to be a little tricky to do. But yeah, we're going to start by taking off your wheel, taking off the timing covers, and then we'll take the dipstick out. Pretty straightforward, removing covers and stuff, a bunch of 10 mils and whatnot. And then, yeah, we'll loosen up the AC compressor and get our accessory belts off. And of course, can't forget your JDM little coffee. Keep you fueled up. All right, let me get a 10 mil and we'll start taking stuff off. And just kind of be aware, bolts are different lengths. I've already pulled out 3 different sizes. So what's kind of easy to do is when you take the cover off, just kind of put them back in that same location, or put them on the ground, kind of in that fake spot that you pulled out of the cover, so you kind of know that's where it goes. Okay, so now that we got the timing cover off, it is time to loosen up our AC alternator belt. The AC is stationary, the alternator belt swivels. We got a 12 millimeter up on top here. You'll hit from the inside. We got a 12 mil down here, and right on the other side of the alternator is another 12 mil. So those 3 bolts need to be loose. All right, all 3 bolts have been loosened. We'll take this off. Okay, so now that we have our alternator belt off, now we can get the crank pulley off. So then we can finish getting our timing covers off. But let's get this one out of the way real quick. Okay, there's that guy. 2 10 millimeters. So that side. Okay, now we are. Now we're going to take the crank pulley off. So since this is an interference engine, I am going to set it to top dead center just so we don't have any issues when we try to put the timing back correctly after removing the cam, because, you know, if you just take it off willy-nilly and you twist it wrong, you can, you know, try to reset it back to top dead center and you'll hit the valves, and not like you're really cranking on it, but it just kind of makes it harder because you got to crank the cam a little bit, then you got to crank the crank a little bit, you know, keep them moving so they don't hit. But I'm going to show you a little trick. So on these bell housings on the transmissions, there is a rubber cap right down there. You can see it. And that is what will pop off. And then we'll get this stuff out of the, oop, don't want to lose that. We're going to get some stuff out of the way, but that is where we're going to line the crankshaft up, with the marks on the flywheel and the bell housing. So we can set that to dead center, and then we don't have to worry about anything, valves hitting the piston if we're trying to reset, such stuff. Okay, my phone's gonna do some freaky stuff here probably, but see that little mark right there on the edge of the bell housing? That is our mark to line up with top dead center. So we're gonna spin the crank until we get the, we'll see what it looks like, I forget, but we want it to line up with that essentially. Okay, so we're coming up on our degrees. There's 20 degrees. It's 10 degrees. And T for top dead center. And that is where we're gonna be lined up. So now we are top dead center on the cam, and we're top dead center on the crank. That way, if anything comes up, you know, you can check the cam marks if it gets confusing. Yeah, when you're lining stuff back up. But there we go. Now we'll go ahead and pop the crank pulley off. That way we know when we try to put it back together, we shouldn't be hitting any valves. And I'm not too concerned if it moves. Like, if it moves a little bit, that's totally fine. We're gonna realign it when we're done. But it's just, you know, for peace of mind, we don't have to battle the pistons and the valves when we're trying to put it back into time. All right. Crank pulley's off. Okay, so now we continue with taking off the rest of the timing cover. All right, got the last one coming out. Don't forget the one on the timing cover. That one right here I'm removing is typically the one that holds the dipstick on the trucks. But obviously this is a van, slightly different. Get that one out. There should be like a little washer. A little washer and a nut, okay. Timing cover should come off now. There we go. There's gonna be some little rubber seals. Try to hang on to those. Here's one right here. We'll put those back in the timing cover slots. So again, this is another finagler. Yeah, okay. So these have little rubber seals. We'll just kind of put them back in the timing cover. You need these. This keeps garbage from getting inside. So just kind of find the slot, slip it back in there. Looks like the upper one is still stuck on the other timing cover. And let's say yours gets really jacked up. You can make something. It's just foam. But I'm just saying, it's important to have it because it keeps stuff from getting inside your timing belt. Dirt, water, all that crud. There we go. All the timing covers have been removed. And I'll go ahead and put all the bolts in their respected slots so we don't forget. Let's first start by loosening our tensioner, and then once we do that, we can get the timing belts off. All right, we got our belt off. Our tensioner bolt out. Set that aside. There we go. All right, let's check. Oh, it's a Mitsubishi. Okay, that's a good one. Certainly not in bad shape, but old belt stretch. So this will kind of tighten everything up when we put the new belt on. Okay, so now we got our timing belts off. We're gonna take our tensioner off, which has a spring attached to a water pump. I like to just leave them attached to our tensioner, so that way we know for sure, like when we put the spring on, we're not like, was it this direction? You know, was it that direction? We can put it on the right way. So I'll set this aside. Okay, just a little quick overview of how to get the cam bolt out. It's a little tricky. Unbolt the fuel filter. Get yourself one of these cam holding tools. Oh, cam came off. This is something I got off Amazon. Just look for one that looks like this. There's a bunch on there and they all look the same. I originally bought it for the Subaru, but as long as your cam has slots like this, it's gonna work just fine. And now we can take the rest of that timing cover off in there. Boy, is that new electric little ratchet a lifesaver. $1.39 for the The hello. Guy was gagging while he came up with that name. All right, so there's the back time cover off. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts holding that guy on. Now we can take off the water pump. So water pump has 1, 2, 3. This long boy right here, that one comes off, and then that nut comes off. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 millimeters holding the water pump on. Let's get that off. Don't get it confused with the oil pump. Don't want to take those off. So I'm gonna get a pan, we'll put it underneath so we don't drip a bunch of coolant all over my new concrete. So now the water pump should come off. That coolant's not so green, so this is a good time. We'll be changing the coolant. He didn't ask, but I'm gonna do the thermostat as well because we're gonna just start fresh. So here's the fun part. We need to make sure we get all the gasket off the block. That will require some form. I got a little drill with the wire brushes on the end. So we'll wire brush the whole surface and get it nice and clean. Scrape all the old stuff off. That way when we put the fresh water pump on, we don't have to worry about it not seating properly because it will leak. The littlest stuff will leak and then you're gonna have to redo it all, which is a total bummer. So make sure it's nice and clean. I have done stuff where it's like a sliver of gasket. I didn't even realize it because it blended in. Just a sliver and it would just leak bad, and it's like stuff that putting together a head and it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta take it all apart. So it's just always double check and make sure it's extremely clean and nothing is left behind. Okay, so we got that surface cleaned up pretty good with my little wire wheel on my drill attachment. I just got that at Tractor Supply. I'm sure you can get those anywhere, but yeah, that's nice and clean, perfect. Kind of cleaned up the oil pump a little bit, so I'll pull the seals before we put the water pump in, so we have more hand room in there. So yeah, I'm gonna get my seal puller. I'm gonna pull this Woodruff key out just in case, so we don't lose that thing. All right, got my seal puller again, Amazon. Buy a bunch of these little perishables because they will break. They'll break all the time. So it's good to have quite a few of these handy. Behind the seal, and what kind of makes it easy is you can get a little pry bar and it will help get the seal popped off. These are knuckle busters, so be careful. When they let go, you'll bust your knuckles. Ah, gosh, dang, I busted mine. A little skin, there we go. Yeah, gotta be careful with those. Okay, throw that seal out. Let's get that cleaned up in there. Actually, save it, set it aside, because we want to make sure we don't go and grab the wrong seal and try to install it just in case booger up the good one. So let's line up, make sure we got the right one, and put it in. And just to kind of show you what I mean, these seals, you know, to the naked eye, they look pretty similar when you're just like quickly grabbing seals. But as you can see, this one, the inner diameter is a little larger than that inner diameter. Outer diameters are, you know, almost spot on. So that's why I say just in case, hold on, because you might grab this one and put it on and it won't seat properly and it will leak. So yeah, that's our crank seal. And I just so happened to get the seal installer kit the other day. I really wanted to use it on, I was working on something else. The Honda. I needed it for the Honda. So let's see how it works on the K cars. Okay, so put some Angeli. Let's use our words. our engine assembly grease. I tried to combine that engine grease, and we'll put that over like so, and basically it's gonna sit flush with the oil pump. So let's get our fancy dancy new tool in there. Again, I don't know why I never got one of these sooner. I guess I was always confused how they worked, but if I use my brain, it all makes sense. All right, so now we'll just go until it's flush. It's gonna bottom out, so it might just put it right at the right spot we need it to be. But this is why it's nice to be able to thread them on, thread a nut in there, or a bolt, because then it allows us to get evenness instead of trying to bang it on with a hammer. We need to go a little bit more, so I'm gonna put one spacer on. Hopefully we can still get it threaded in. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, so we're just gonna go a little bit more. Again, just until it's flush with the oil pump. Don't go until it bottoms out. So always, you know what they say, cut once, measure twice, or cut twice, measure once. Yeah, that's amazing. This is awesome. Again, I don't know why I didn't get one of those sooner. Again, that was Amazon seal press kit. So we'll get the excess grease removed. Okay, new seal is in there. I'm gonna take a lunch break, and then we'll work up to our cam seal next. That one is another tricky one. Getting in there with that, and yeah, we'll get to that. I'm too hungry right now. All right, we're back, chat. So the easiest way to get this seal out is come up from above. Like I said, take that fuel filter out. Can't focus, but yeah, we'll pop it off from the top with my pry bar. There it is. Yeah, let's get that one out of there now. All right, easy. That one was actually easy peasy. Just get your seal puller in there, pry bar, and I'll help you pull it off. I'm gonna clean it, and then we'll get ready to install the new one. All right, so the good thing about this one is it's pre-lubed. So we don't have to lube this one. I'm gonna get my little seal installer kit, get the right one, and we'll press it in. Again, that one is flush, just like the other one. Don't crank it till it bottoms out, just flush with the head. Okay, now we got to install the water pump. So here's our paper gasket. This is what I like to do. You can do whatever you want, but I find this, spray a gasket sealant. I like to use this. I spray it on both sides, gets it sticky, holds it in place, and kind of helps keep it sealed. So, because it's paper, I don't like to run just paper. It makes me nervous. So I'm gonna get something to spray that on. So I'll put a nice coat on both sides. Stuff gets real sticky. All right, so we'll kind of let that simmer for a bit, and then we'll go put it on the water pump, and then we'll bolt it up. All right, there we go. It's dried a little bit, so we'll put it up on the block, and we'll torque all those bolts down. Fun little fact, I've had that same can of spray sealer since I worked at Superior Ready Mix, and that was probably, man, that was like 20 years ago. Crazy. That stuff lasts forever. As long as you keep that nozzle clean, it'll keep spraying. Okay, let me get my torque wrench, and we'll get that torqued up in there. Okay, so we're going to torque this guy. I torque it to 110 inch-pounds. That's my magic number. Yeah, this job would be no fun if you got oversized hands. I mean, I don't have little hands, but at least I can get in there somewhat okay. All right. Get these we'll just do this one by hand. All right, that's 110. Cool, so new water pump is on, cam seal's on, in, crank seal's in. Now we can start to put our cover back on. So here is our mark on the cover. This is what, let me get the cam real quick. That's gonna be our marks on that. And then obviously the crank is using the flywheel in the bell housing, or that little tick mark right there, and your crank pulley. But yeah, this one's kind of tricky to see. So if you got like a mirror, you can get in there. That'll help you get it lined up. Yeah, that's gonna be your best bet. Or you got a borescope or something, put a camera in there. But yeah, that's what we are shooting for. So let's get this back in. We'll get the bolts all together. Okay, so now that we got the timing cover on, I put the cam back in. We are going to torque that to 50 foot-pounds. So that is gonna obviously really require this. And I got a torque wrench, so we're gonna torque that. It's like 50, 52 foot-pounds, plus or minus 2 pounds. It's not gonna be the end of the world. So yeah, let me get a torque wrench and we'll get that on. All right. Fun part, 50 foot-pounds on this sucker's tight. All right, 50 foot-pounds. Next part's gonna be lining up the cam, but let's get this thing out of here. Thank you for saving my butt today. Tool, let's leave the fuel filter off still, because make it easier when we have to get in there and line that up. Let's put the tensioner, belt tensioner in. There she is. All right, let's go put this in. Okay, so we're going to take the spring off the other one, which if you did forget, it loops into it, not from behind. So loops in front of it. And then we're gonna put it on our our water pump. Slip it in the slot. Our bolt, put that in there. We're gonna set it to its biggest opening right now, so we can get it out of the way to get the belt in there. Okay. All right, full extendo cedo, cuz. Okay, so let's get our wood drift key in there. Let's get our crank pulley in there. Yeah, buddy, a little out of time. Turn that. Okay, that's lined up. So now let's get the cam lined up. So I'm gonna get my mirror and we'll get it lined up that way. Okay, so got the cam lined up with the marks. I'm gonna open up the bag for our timing belts. All right, so these do have arrows. So we are rotating clockwise, like you're tightening. So we're going to put the arrows facing the front of the car, if you're gonna put those up top. And yeah, it's really kind of crucial to make sure the upper mark is good and your lower mark is good, because if you're off by a tooth, it will still run, but it will have a little lack of power. So just double check, triple check your marks. All right, with our tensioner fully out, it makes it pretty easy to get the belt on. All right, double checked, triple checked. Timing's all good. Let's just kind of make sure that the belt's on there evenly with everything. We'll drop the tensioner. I'll kind of just push on it a little bit. We don't want to like really crank on the tensioner because the spring is what kind of pulls it, but these will stretch a little bit because they're new. So I always just push like a finger on it and then tighten it. We don't want to over tighten it, so don't, muscle it. Just kind of give it a little push with your finger. Nothing crazy, because you will snap your timing belt. I mean, it might not even move for you. Okay, get that good and tight, like the Germans would say. You know, a little bit of play, which is okay. We don't want it to be like so taut it will snap. All right, so that's good. We got our timing covers on. I mean, the inner timing cover on. Now we can start putting the other timing cover on, which we'll start with the upper one and then work our way to the back. All right, let's finagle this up in there. Now we'll slip in the top one. We'll get this one in there. Okay. Yikes. All right, now crank pulley. Get that sucker on there. This is how I do it. You can do it however you want. I put a little blue Loctite on our crank bolt. And I use number 2 setting on my impact. Pop it in there, good to go. If you want to try to torque it, you are more than welcome to, but it's kind of hard because there's nothing to really grab this unless you get some kind of like band strap or something and hold it. But yeah, impact works just fine. Just don't, you know, full blast it. A few little ugga-duggas should be plenty. We gotta get our belt on. I'm gonna use my pry bar and we're gonna tighten that 12 mil while I'm using my pry bar. Get it tight. They like to squeal. Now we'll get the rest of the alternator bolts. There's that one on the inside. And then there's this guy here. Okay. Perfect. That should be good. Okay, now we'll finagle this Fraggle Rock on. That wasn't too bad. Now we're gonna get the dipstick in there. Okay. That's in there. A nut on there. Bingo. All our covers are back on. So yeah, what's left now? So essentially what's left now is we need to do, I'm gonna do the thermostat. Judging by the color of the coolant, I'm not sure if it's been done. I thought there was a feather in my head. That guy right there is our thermostat housing, but here's the fun part. So to do this, you're gonna wanna have the front end up and you take off the front piece and then you have access to the radiator and you can bleed it. And then there's our little mini bleeder back here to get all the air out. But before I do all that, he wants the distributor seal O-ring down there, which is kind of a pain in the butt to do on these things because of course all these cooling lines are running class. Here's another coolant bleeder, by the way. So yeah, I'm not gonna show all that because I gotta take most of this stuff off to get to that distributor, but I feel like doing the timing service will show you, how to do the timing service. And then if you do your thermostat or you're just putting coolant back in the system, you still need to do the bleeding process, which is, pouring coolant in up front, then taking these off, letting coolant come out of here, running it with the heater, all that stuff so you can bleed it. Otherwise it will overheat and you'll be confused as to why you're overheating, and then you could actually blow a head gasket. So you don't have to do the timing twice. But yeah, there you go. That's how you do your timing belt service on your Honda Acti Every. Gosh. On your Suzuki Every van. This comes off and your radiator's behind that, which don't forget, if you're gonna remove that panel, always come in here, turn those knobs. If you don't turn those knobs, you're gonna break all your plastics and possibly bend your body piece there, trim piece. So be sure to turn those little knobs, and then it will let go, and then you can pull it off. They still might break. I have new ones here just in case that happens, because it's old plastic. But yeah, just don't remember to turn those knobs to release the front end. But there you go. That's how you do your timing service. Put everything back together, and if you got the cooling system bled and everything should be amazing and good to go, especially if you're using OEM parts and nothing Chinese. You'll be good for another 10 to 15 years. Yeah, very cool. So I do have these timing kits for the Suzuki F6A on my website. I'll have a link down below. I really appreciate it, guys. If you watch this whole thing, thank you. Like and subscribe if you would do so. That would be amazing. It really helps me out. And yeah, I know this is a little bit new. I'm usually working on Subarus and stuff like that, but hey, if you got a Suzuki and it's time for timing, and you got a van, this should help you out. Truck, again, is the same way. It's just that the engine's rotated and it's up front, so you got to remove possibly the radiator or at least the electric fan to get in there. If it's two-wheel drive, you don't need to do anything because you got about 2 feet of room up there. It's amazing on the truck, that is. But cool. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah. See you guys on the next one.